Welcome to the Sonic Shaman Show, home of the Coffee Connect and Conscious Connections. The show is dedicated to empowering you to perceive, know, be, and express your unique voice in this world without the fear of judgment of others through healing, coaching, and educational services. In each episode, Hank and his guests offer tools, techniques, and inspiration to help you step into your potency. Now, here is your host, Hank Setala.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Again, I am here with who I like to call Heather MacMillian because she is very good with this whole abundance and manifestation and actualizing of money. How are you today, Heather? Thank you so much for joining me. Uh-oh. I'm frozen or she's frozen. I don't know which. 5911. Bear with me, everyone. I was just telling Heather how I was having technology issues all day, so this could be runoff from the technology being thwarting me. Oh no, Heather, if you can hear me, you're frozen. Well, while we wait for internet to catch up with us, if you can hear me, oh, she just dropped off. So I'm assuming that you can hear me. If you want to just make a comment, let me know that you are receiving the stream, and maybe it was Heather's technology over mine this time. But today is going to be all about manifestation and actualization. And in Access Consciousness, there's a very clear distinction. And while we wait for Heather to join us here, I'll just open up in the space that she normally does. Oh, here she comes. She's back.
Hello, everybody. I wonder what magic we are going to create.
I was just about to fill in a question for you since you were gone. So that was perfect. Like you didn't even miss a beat. But anyway, I was welcoming you and thanking you for being on again and asking, how are you today?
Oh, I am so grateful to be here. How much fun can we have?
Yeah, and 5911, any technology issues that we were going to be having. And okay, perfect. Debbie says that I am loud and clear. I'm so glad that you are joining us. And as a reminder, if you're watching this on any of the Facebook channels and everything, you're fine on Emergence of Being and my profile. But if you're watching on any of the other pages, we only see the comments from my profile, the Emergence of Being page, YouTube, or if you're in one of the Facebook groups. Anywhere else, we might not see it. So we're not trying to ignore you. Just make the comments where we're able to see it. And Mike is giving us an ompwe, which is Quechua for bring your energy here, basically. And he's saying hello, Magic Mike. So glad that you are here with us. Now, we did have a question a little bit from last time, but before we get to that, since today I threw up the topic of actualizing abundance with total ease, and in the description, how Access makes a differentiation between manifestation and actualization, and that manifestation can actually be a trap. So why don't we start with that? Because I think it's going to lead into potentially the question that was asked in the group after our last stream.
Yeah, and thank you so much for that. Access Consciousness is what we're talking about here, and you can find out more about that at accessconsciousness.com. It's an amazing set of tools and techniques to create a life you love and that's fun for you. And one of the areas that Access is so different is in the conversation around money and abundance. And what would it take? What were you saying?
No, I was just getting excited, but then I was like, oh no, I wasn't going to say anything. But then me wanting to say that interrupted.
Well, and these tools are so different, and that one of the pieces of information that can be so helpful to us who have done a lot of different things to try and create a life we love is the differentiation between what is manifestation and what is actualization. And so we talk about this in the Access Bars class because there's actually a bar called the Circle of Manifestation. And that's really all about how things show up. So how easily are all of you guys allowing things to show up for you, including money?
Some things easier than others, I'm sure.
Exactly. And what if money could be a tool? What if it could be a gift? What if it could be a contribution to things showing up with more ease? Because there's a lot of different ways that you can actualize things. And what if money could be a contribution to them showing up faster and easier and with more joy?
Right. And the whole thing with just manifestation and actualization, sometimes we get caught up with the how. Like when we're asking the universe, how could I get a raise in my paycheck, for example, instead
Uh-huh.
of how could I bring more abundance or receive more abundance into my life? And sometimes we get caught up in the how and we kind of handcuff the universe because we've already said, hey, I'm only willing to receive this one way, instead of the infinite possibilities of how it might come to us if we don't put a point of view with how it shows up.
Yeah. And I mean, you had a great story about this the last time we talked. I can't recall whether we were live when we were talking about it, but you were asking for money to fund something and it showed up so easily. And would you tell us about that?
Yeah. So I had every year Access has a class called Global Foundation, which is a class where Gary and Dain,
Awesome.
the founders of Access, basically have a 4-day question and answer session with all the certified facilitators. And I've taken it I took it last year and I was going to take it this year. And I said, hey, Spirit, universe, if this is to be in my life, let extra money show up with ease. And so I don't have to dive into any accounts or pay for the class in any other way. And literally that day after I asked that question, I had enough web store sales. For those of you who don't know, I sell tuning forks and aromatherapy on my web store. I had enough sales to cover the cost of the class that I had basically put out there. And I didn't say, bring me web sales. I just said, show me the money. Basically, it could have happened anyway, but it happened in a way where all I had to do is forward emails, because I drop ship everything. I have zero inventory. And so I had the orders come in, I forwarded them on, and had the funds to pay for the class, and just paid with my PayPal balance. Didn't even need to dive into a checking account or anything like that. And that was just from the openness to saying, universe, what would it take to take this class with total ease, was essentially my question. And it happened like that.
And how does it get any better than that? And for all of you listening and watching now and in the future, that's a tool that you can play with when something awesome shows up in your life. And it's like, wow, okay, thank you, universe. Acknowledge that you asked, that you received. And how does it get any better than that?
Yeah, how does it get any better than that? Because the sales continue to flow in after that. So, she's gone again. The sales continue to flow in after that. I don't know. Did you freeze or did I freeze? That's just weird.
The
Okay,
technology is so
you know.
interesting.
So maybe we should shift gears in our conversation of actualization to talk about how we can receive from beings of light, because maybe they are here making their presence known to us, saying, hey, what about your teammates, as we call them at Access?
Well, yeah, I mean, who or what is around you right now that actually desires for you to have more ease in life? And the mantra of Access Consciousness, if you haven't heard me on the show before, is all of life comes to us with ease, joy, and glory. And it's right behind Hank. Yeah, it's on the wall of Emergence of Being, which is so amazing because that's the whole energy of everything in Access Consciousness. What if all of life could come to you with ease, joy, and glory?
Yeah, and that was a huge thing that I started doing when I wake up in the morning. It's one of the first things. Well, I kind of rotate between a couple questions I like to answer or ask, start the day with, like, how can I have more fun today than any day before this? That's like one of my favorite ones. Or what beings of light, teammates, guides, whatever word, and Access be like the word teammates because there's no significance around it. You don't have as much preconceived notion around the word teammates as you might have around a spirit guide. But what beings of light and teammates could I receive from, that if I were to receive from, could change everything in my day with total ease and allow everything to flow to me instantly, actualizing instantly with total ease, like realizing that you're not necessarily in it alone, and there's all kinds of amazing entities that could assist you in bringing things to you with total ease. I think she's frozen again. Beings of light, 5911. I hear you now.
Well, it's funny. I am plugged into the wire connection, and
Me too.
We have like crazy fast internet at home. So I wonder what else is possible? And that's another question to play with too, is when something's, maybe you're going down a path and it's getting more and more frustrating, or it's not ease, okay, well, what else is possible here? And there's always 4 questions in Access Consciousness that you can play with anything. And they are, what is this? What do I do with it? Can I change it? If so, how do I change it? And that is the tool to get you out of any bind, because it gets around all your conclusions, all your points of view, anywhere you've already decided that something's, a certain way, and really gets you into the question. And it's a little bit of an advanced topic, and it's something we delve into really deeply in the foundation class, the 4-day foundation class. But that's creation. And creation really begins with a question. So Hank's story is such a great example of that. Okay, what would it take to have the money for this class? What would it take to have too much money for this thing that I'd like? That's the initial step in the process of creation.
Very cool. And what's the next step?
Choice. So it's question, choice, possibility, and contribution. And so we've been touching on all those pieces, and the story that you told us really touches on all those components as well. Question, okay, what would it take to have this? Choice, what choices can I make today that would allow me to actualize that? Where do I need to go? Who do I need to talk to? What would make this really easy? Possibilities. What are the infinite possibilities for this to show up with ease? What possibilities are available that we've never considered? And then contribution. Who or what desires to contribute?
And adding on to that too, like one of the things that can also happen is you might ask the universe for something. And I think we touched on this on our last call, and I gave the example like ordering a pizza. You can order a pizza from the universe, but when the pizza gets there, if you never open the door, you can't receive it. And so like where in our past do we have these areas where we're not willing to receive from the universe, either out of fear of obligation or because we feel it's like a sign of weakness or whatever the case is? Sometimes we have no problem asking the universe, but receiving from the universe is a whole different story.
Oh my gosh, isn't that ever the story, right? I mean, and so many things get in the way of our receiving. And that's a lot of what we clear when we work with tools and access like the How to Become Money workbook or the advanced How to Become Money workbook, because that's getting us out of these places of conclusion of like, okay, I asked for more money to show up and somebody gave me a painting. Or I asked for more ease in life, and here's this person looking to help me pull my heavy bag onto the train, and yet, can I receive that? What do they want from me? So it's these places where we have a judgment or a point of view that don't allow us to receive the gifts that the universe is looking to bring us all the time.
Definitely. And there are so many access tools. Just to give people a few books to consider, because if
Yeah.
you've been watching the live streams, I've been doing book readings from the Money's Not the Problem, You Are book. And
Awesome.
you might be able to find them in the Emergency Being group, maybe. They typically only step for 48 hours, though. And then there's Right Riches for You, fantastic, which is it's a transcript of a class, but it's like abundance on a whole nother level. And then you have things like Simone's book, Getting Out of Debt Joyfully, debt or no debt, it's all about receiving and abundance.
Totally.
And looking at money in different ways. And then the heavy hitter tools, as I would like to call it, is the How to Become Money workbook, which you can go through on your own, but the real magic came for me. But the real magic came for me is when you go through it with someone that's like pot and pocking you, which is point of destruction, point of creation, like actually doing facilitation while you go through it. So as these energies come up that are blocking you or preventing you from being able to receive, you just kind of bowl them right over and move right through them.
Yeah, and that's where Gary Douglas, the co-creator of Access Consciousness, the founder of Access Consciousness, who actually channeled this book in 1996. He recommends going through the book every 2 weeks. And when the book was channeled, we didn't have the clearing statement. So now we have this amazing way of everything you're reading in the book, everything that it brings up for you, that we have this amazing way to clear that away, and not on a cognitive intellectual level. Because for how many of you guys have you tried to change your money situation or tried to change something in your life from a rational, intellectual method or point of view? And what we're looking to get at and clear with the access clearing statement is the insane mind. It's these insane points of view that keep us stuck, that keep us limited, and that, Hank touched on the sense of obligation that, keep us referencing things from the past, or like way, way lifetimes past, that may not be applicable in the future and may not allow us to receive the gifts of the universe.
Yeah, and that's also when we talk about fear of obligation, like how many times has somebody offered to be kind to you,
Yeah.
and we turn it down because we, in our back of our mind, we're like, oh, if I take this, then I'm going to owe them. And true kindness is not from a space of obligation. It's just somebody purely being kind. And we sometimes get tripped up with that. And let's pretend for a moment that Heather is being kind to me, but she did have an ulterior motive. It doesn't obligate me. It doesn't obligate me to reciprocate back and be kind to her. So it's still a matter of choice and willingness to receive, even if there is an attachment attached to it. And thank you for joining us, Mark. I don't know if Heather's ready for your sense of humor, Mark. He's our resident comedian. He's always making wisecracks and things. But
I love it.
But there's something to be said, because I like taking Mark's comments and turning them in to different possibilities. But he says, I once asked the universe for $2.7 billion, and all I received was 3 dimes and a parking lot. There's a story that Neil Donald Walsh tells about this guy who's reading the Bible, and he gets to the part that says, if you had faith so much as a mustard seed, you could move mountains. And this guy's like the usher at the church. He's a head deacon, all this stuff. And he goes out and he's looking at this mountain off his back porch, sits in his rocking chair and goes, mountain, move. And he sits there for like 3 days. Just like, because he knows he's got all this faith. And then at the end, though, he goes, just as I thought. So there's like a one thing about mentally saying things, but what is the core belief? And that's what we're talking about here. So if that was your experience, Mark, what was the core belief of you believing or not believing that you were going to receive that $2.7 billion? So that's the thing to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, see, I hope I saved it, Mark. I think I turned it into a possibility. Anyhow.
Well, and that's where that tool of how does it get any better than this? And I don't recall whether it's right riches for you or money isn't the problem. Maybe it's in both of them, but there's a story in there about someone who used how does it get any better than this when they found money throughout the day, and they just found more and more money. And what so many of us get hung up on is the time frame. Because if we ask for, okay, so what would it take to have $1 million? And then it doesn't show up, right after this podcast, it's like, oh, well, that was bullshit or whatever. We go to this conclusion, and notice the energy of that conclusion. It's like nothing else can show up, because the energy of the question is so expansive, so light. What would it take to have $1 million? Okay. What would it take to have that? Universe, show me the way. That's the question. And then if you go into the conclusion of like, oh, this isn't working, I didn't ask right, it didn't show up in the time frame that you've set for the universe, then you're going into all these decisions and conclusions and fixed points of view that aren't allowing the universe to actually deliver to you.
Right. And then I had another thought with that. Come back thought. My son just came in from outside and he's walking. Yeah. But the thing is, like, he comes in and he starts creeping through like he's being all sneaky. And then he prolongs it and distracts me more as he's slowly moving across my field of vision. No, so where I was going to go was making the correlation between manifestation and actualization, as well as following the energy. So Mark, you say, hey, $2.7 billion. And so spirit, your beings of light, your teammates, all the energy is pulling you to go into the one store to buy the one lottery ticket, but you weren't paying attention. You didn't follow the energy. So let me give you another example of that. I put out to spirit, hey, or universe, whatever you like to call it, higher self.
Yeah.
What would it take for me to have my first 4-figure coaching client?
Mm-hmm.
And so I threw that out there, and then all of a sudden I got invited to be on a radio show. And so I went on the radio show, and from that, someone went on my website and booked to be a 12-month coaching client. And so, like, if I hadn't been paying attention to follow the energy for that radio interview, I may never have done that. And so it's like following the energy. And another great example, Andrew Gardella, who's like the body guy in Access. He did a money clarity night once, a year and a half back or whatnot. And he was talking about following the energy, and somebody who had taken his classes before had shared that when they were at the gym, they had asked a question, what would it take to fund one of their projects, to get an investor for their projects? And he's at the gym, and he just keeps noticing this one person. And he's like, I don't know what it is about them, but I have to talk to him. And in the class, he was sharing that he went up, he actually talked to them. They ended up being like a private equity investor, and they just had one investment cash out, and they were looking for their next thing. And that became his investment. And that was all following the energy, someone that he just noticed, and it felt light. It matched the energy of the question. And then he followed through with that and acted on it. And maybe you could talk a little bit. That's how Gary even founded Access, by asking a question and following the energy.
And that's so brilliant, because that is exactly what we talk about in Access Bars class when we tell the story of how Gary discovered these amazing tools that we all know and love, and especially Access Consciousness bars. It was by asking a question. He was asking the question, what would I like my life to be like? And for all of you guys listening and watching now and in the future, what would you like your life to be like? And get a sense of that energy. And you may have to ask it on your own, but when you're really present with that energy of what would you like your life to be like, then Gary, in asking that question, started to choose the things that may have even seemed a little bit unusual, like the story that Hank was telling about Andrew and the investor, but it was following the energy. And these are the shortcuts that the universe desires to gift to us who are willing to ask a question. So when we're willing to ask a question, we can get really present with that energy and allow those shortcuts. You just have to be present and aware with what the universe is showing you and those whispers. So how many whispers of the universe have been coming across your path that you've been ignoring and refusing? And everything that is, will you now destroy and uncreate all of that?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. And for those of you guys who aren't familiar with that, that's the Access Consciousness clearing statement. That's that tool that's designed to bypass your logical mind. And you can find out more about it at theclearingstatement.com.
Yeah, but suffice it to say that each one of those words is a deep dive into one particular energy that would have a hold on not stepping into possibilities. And Mark, just to pick on you a little bit, I bet you when you said the $2.7 billion, you were like thinking like the genie, just like poof, there's the money. But what if it was to audition for that one show or that one commercial that would have put you in the right view of the person that would have booked you for a movie? Because I know he's an actor. That's why I'm using that example. So like, what if? And like when Melissa and I back in 2000 and, oh gosh, how long has it been since we've been doing the expo? Like 9 years ago. So whenever that was, Melissa and I asked a question to start that whole thing. What would, if we were to put on a show, where we would have it, what would that look like? How would we want it to feel when people walked in? And we followed the energy that led us to the Sportsplex, that taught us that we could rent a whole soccer field for $80 an hour. That's really cheap. Right?
Amazing.
Right. So it's like, so we rented like 2 soccer fields, brought in pipe and drape, and then we ended up, over the course of the years having a 33,000 square foot expo with 100 plus vendors and all these things, all from asking a question and then starting to follow the energy. And it's not the question, why isn't this showing up, universe? It's like, what energy could I be, and what could I be with the universe to create this? Because it's all like, do I want to use the word co-creation? It's
Yeah.
It's you have to do your part. And I use this on a lot of my streams, this example. It's like you put your order to the universe starts growing. But if you don't start growing, you go in a circle. So like you got to do your part with the universe and have that good orderly direction to move forward, to bring to fruition what it is, and to actualization what it is that you were looking for. And Mark says, you two should write a book. Heather, that sounds like an inspiration.
Yes.
I don't know.
What are the infinite possibilities?
Yeah. How does it get any better than that? Mark, you may.
Yeah.
I got 2 other books in the works. Why not a third? That would be awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, and which brings me to, when you were talking, and some of the energies that are up in people who are watching this now, it's, when did you ever decide that you had created all you were going to create? What if you could wake up every day and ask the question, what would it take to outcreate myself today? What would it take to create greater than I've ever created before? And this is one of the conversations and access that's been really dynamic in the last year, is this topic of rightness. And it's, a huge conversation in the foundation. These places where we've decided we got it right, perfect, correct, whatever you want to call it, are these places where we've created our own box of our own rightness, and we're not willing to outcreate that. So what else is possible is one of the ways out of that box. So for everyone, what else is possible that you've never considered, that is so far beyond what you could ever imagine?
And that's the thing, like the ability to acknowledge when you put these things out to the universe, the part that you don't have conscious awareness of, then it's like you're tapping into the entire field of possibility versus only what you think you know. And now that's a very narrow vision. It's like tunnel vision. So what would it take for you to start creating in your life with the totality of all the possibility of all there is, instead of everything you were taught to know? You were taught that, instead, you get the vibe of what I'm getting at. And I'm getting all tongue tied with it, but really we're taught to see the world from such a tunnel vision. A lot of us are anyway. And what would it take to expand and take the blinders off to create with that which is unseen?
Well, exactly. And so many of the tools and questions of access are all about that. I mean, wow. One basic tool to be playing with on that front to open up greater and greater possibilities is, what question could I be asking here that I haven't asked yet?
Yeah. Oh, and what was my favorite one? I think this might have been was this from Talk to the Entities? The question was, what could I ask my teammates, my guides, and beings of light to do for me that I never dreamed I could ask, that if I did ask and could receive, could change everything with total ease?
Yeah. Wow.
I'm getting,
the energy
yeah.
of that.
Yeah, I don't, or maybe I came up, I don't know, but it came from somewhere. but really, like, that's a way to start engaging like the universe in a whole different way that unlocks, it takes the genie and uncorks the bottle to really let the possibility come out and actualize in ways that you would never imagine. And I'll post, my head's just all wizzy.
Well, there's so many different directions that we could go with this topic of what would it take for you to actualize abundance with total ease. There's so many fun tools and access to play with. And the one that's really popping right now is kind of taking that energy of asking the question and really exponentializing it. So for all of you guys, we're just going to do a little quick thing. And maybe we'll even cut this part out and post it somewhere, because this is something that you can do every day or a couple times a day, or if you're just bored or whatever, wondering what to choose next, is to ask the question, what would you like your life to be like? If you could have your life be anything in the next 2 to 5 to 10 years, what would it be? And get the energy of that. And let's destroy and uncreate everything that even just asking that question brought up, all the years, all the points of view, everything that was. Will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyond. So one more time, if you could have your life be anything, what would you like your life to be like? And if you could have your life be anything in the next 2 to 5 years, what would it be? And now get that energy and put it out in front of you. I know this sounds weird, wild, wacky, but just put it out in front of you. Pull energy into that from all over the universe. More, even more than that. It's an infinite universe. There's an infinite supply. You receiving that is not going to take away from someone else. What if it's going to actually contribute to them and make things greater for everyone? And everything that brings up, can we destroy and uncreate it? Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So pull energy into that from all over the universe. Now send little trickles of that energy to everyone and everything that will contribute to that actualizing as a reality for you. And everything that doesn't allow that, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And now you can say, hey, universe, consciousness, spirit, whatever your word for that is. Hey, I'd really like this. Can I have this, please? And what are the infinite possibilities for this to show up greater and with more ease, joy, and glory than I can imagine possible? And everything that doesn't allow that, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And I'm so grateful, Mark. Yes, consciousness is not at all serious. So thank you for keeping it late. How does it get any better? And so that's something that you can play with, is when you ask that question, getting really present with what the energy is for you, and then pulling more energy into that and sending trickles of it out to everyone and everything that desires to contribute to that. So that may have been way far beyond for some people. Oh no, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, there's a shower going on upstairs, so I was hitting the mute button. Well, good. That means I didn't accidentally interrupt you like I thought you did. So I thought, so it works out great. The thing that I was bringing up when I tried to interrupt was one thing that was coming up for me with that is when you think about kids growing up, how much emphasis there is on what would you like to be when you grow up.
Oh, totally.
And we start to emphasize, what we're going to be with what we're actually doing. So like, I want to be a firefighter. So I have my son, Max, now when you ask him, what would you like to be when you grow up? He's like, I'm going to be happy and I'm going to do whatever I like. And it's like, that is such a great answer.
Kudos to you.
But he really got that though. It's just like, well, why would you limit yourself as to choosing only one thing that you're going to be and do for the rest of your life? But we have that emphasis on as a child so much, and then like destroying, uncreating all the places where we have that projection, expectation, definition, and conclusion that I have to fit into the box of society by picking something and going to college and doing all those things. What are the unlimited possibilities of just actually being ease, joy, and glory?
Yeah. And I mean, for how many of you guys, and it certainly was for me, this was like the biggest relief for me when I discovered Access Consciousness and took the foundation, was the part where we talk about how for the seekers of the world, having a career is definitely not what we're great at. Because if there's like, I have so many different revenue streams. I have so many different things that I enjoy and that are fun for me. Why would I pick just one? Why wouldn't I do exactly what your son says? Be happy and choose what's going to create more every day. Get up every morning. Okay, who am I and what grand and glorious adventure am I going to have? And choose from there.
There was make me think of a movie. Have you seen what is it, 31st Dates? It has Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore in it. And it's like, how much of a day, like when you look at this movie and every day she wakes up and it's just like, hey, it's another day. And it's just like, you don't have any past experience past a certain point. It's just like a brand new day that has no strings attached. And you can really recreate it anew every single time. What if we had that level of freedom to just completely create our life new every day?
Yeah, and I mean, that is a movie that Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, recommends all the time for people who are really stuck in that conclusion of, I am this and I have to do this, and this is the only choice for me. What if you really could wake up like that lady in that movie every day and discover and create your life anew? And there is this tool, it's one of the Access keys to total freedom, called living in 10-second increments, which is basically, yeah, if you had 10 seconds to live the rest of your life, what would you choose?
Oh, I'm just waiting for Mark to have an answer on that. I just know he's already thinking about what he's going to type. I can feel it. Oh, but all joking aside, Mark is such a huge supporter of the stream, so I always love his contribution. And to your point, it's all sacred play. Let me throw up what he put up there too, because he's always commenting on Dr. K's. He's like, being released from prison within the next 10 years would be awesome for me. But Mark, I have a question for you, because you always use this prison joke as the reason you don't come out to one of our energy clinics, though you always rave about them, which is tonight, by the way, for anybody who is hasn't signed up for one yet.
Yay.
But it's always oh, I'm in prison, I can't do this. And I know you're joking about it, but what jokes and excuses are you using to avoid the possibilities you could be choosing? Just throwing it out there for your consideration, Mark. I know you're just joking for real, but what would it be like to not joke and take action, and to start having change and possibility in your life instead of maybe scattering some energy from a joke? I don't know.
Well, and we talk about that in Access, that the clearing statement, there's this form of the clearing statement where you may have even heard some of them if you've seen, and I totally recommend for everybody watching this, Dr. Dain Heer, the co-creator of Access, did this amazing Facebook Live for World Happiness Day. And it's so amazing that happiness is becoming more and more something that people are interested in exploring and choosing and being in the world, like your son. And he uses the clearings that we talk about in the bars class, the foundation class, have something called the jails. And it's basically judgments and agendas, inventions, lies. And that's basically how you create your life, as though you were in a jail. It's an energetic jail, though for some of us, it's the jail of, oh, I can't choose this, or this isn't a possibility for me. It's these places where we've come to a judgment, or we've bought someone's lie, or we're telling ourselves a lie that we can't be or do something. And so when we ask the universe for something, and if it's not showing up, that's one place where we can use these tools to ask some more questions.
Awesome. And I just posted the link in the chat
Yay,
for
thank
Dr.
you.
Dain's thing. And if you're watching, if you want to pause the video later, you can write that down, but it is in the comment section as well. Max, you can just go, buddy. He's all speaking. He's like, were you talking about me? Why, yes, we were, sir.
We were. Thank you. Thank you for
thank you
being
for your
here.
contribution.
Yes.
He's on spring break, and he's getting his computer to work on a young authors competition. So he's actually being productive too. But he also played today, so he's got a good balance of productivity and play, which is amazing.
That's awesome.
And there's so much with Access with just happiness. Like, one of the classes that we as facilitators can teach are like four tools to get your happy on. And that's maybe I should offer that class in the upcoming future. There's just so many things that bring lightness and joy. And to throw out a word in Quechua, because I love the tradition that I practice so much, pupliai, which means sacred play. Everything in life is just like this playfulness. And if you can look at it that way, things can come so much easier. Because do kids have a lot of point of view about having fun and creating? They don't. They just they just in the moment, and they have a blast most of the time.
Well, and I have a blast every time that we've gotten together on these things, because there is, and just to acknowledge that. That's another tool of Access to play with, is acknowledging, like, I have to acknowledge the energy of play that's here, because it's so much fun. And what if everything that you do to actualize money in your life could be from that sense of play?
Right. And now, because I know I have this one question that I know someone made on the last stream, so I'm going to start segueing to
Cool.
that question is going to be a bit more relevant. When it comes to actualizing money and all that, some of it is in the mind, but there's also things that are stored in the body.
Sure.
And like cellular memory, or what if we aren't, actually, I'll give you another example from Andrew's clarity night. There was somebody in the class, a friend of mine actually, so I had like the story from both sides, who had a horribly hard time actualizing abundance. They didn't even have a car. They slowly looked at their mom. Their mom was a lawyer, and she had made the decision, the choice that I'm going to be nothing like my mother, which included being successful, which included, not having things and like living kind of in poverty. So like sometimes like we're storing in our body like energies that we learned from our parents without even realizing that we stored it. Could you talk a little about maybe some tools to start freeing up where these things are stored in the body?
Oh, I love this question, because this was such a huge bit of information for me, a huge awareness for me when I started taking access classes. Was if I was just a being floating around as an entity, a ghost, a spirit, whatever you want to call it, would I require any money? No. So what if the purpose of having money is to create comfort and ease for your body? Ooh. And so how many fixed points of view, how many judgments, how many inventions and lies and other stuff that, we don't even have to have a name for it, is locked into your body to keep you from having that comfort and ease for your body. And everything that is, will you destroy it and create it all?
Hell yeah.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And so wow, okay, cool. Like that's like, whew, there isn't even another part to that right now. So everything that's locked into your body to keep you from having total comfort and joy with your body, will you destroy and uncreate all of that?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
And then no pain, no gain. No pain, no gain.
Ooh. Well, how many of you guys have had no pain, no gain as your mantra instead of all of life comes to you with ease, joy, and glory? So no pain, no gain, no pain, no gain, no pain, no gain. All the secret, hidden, invisible, covert, or shit stuff, creating that as a reality, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And that's another place where, how much has pain and suffering or taking the long, hard road to success been made so right in your universe? These are these places of rightness or righteousness. Like so many times when you'll see someone famous interviewed on TV, they'll start with their story of how much they suffered to get to where they are now. And so many people view that as good. So whatever your story of hard luck is, and everything you're doing to create that as a reality for you, will you destroy and uncreate all of that?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And everywhere you ever actualized something, asked for it, showed up almost instantaneously or totally instantaneously, and you were made wrong for that level of ease, will you now destroy and uncreate that?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Oh, there's a lot on that one.
I know, well, but that is, oh, Mark, making you hungry for Taco Bell, huh? Well, energy clear, like, it's funny that you say that, Mark, because, when we have that, so now this is probably going to get Mark to come to Foundation after I say this, because, part of it, like when we have these classes, is like shopping for the bodies. And like, I buy stuff I never would buy normally.
Yeah.
Like Capri Suns and I don't know, like some weird stuff. And it's just like, I know that is going to be needed. Or like sometimes my body just requires some random things. Now there's a balance too between like doing that and like using it as a excuse perhaps. But like sometimes the body just requires some stuff that you might have a point of view about not being healthy. But what if it was only the point of view about it not being healthy that made it unhealthy?
Totally. And And we talk about that right off the bat with access. Is what if, with all of this energetic shift and change, what if your body has different requirements, and you have to ask, does my body require sugar, salt, water, or some sort of energy? So what does your body require? What is your body asking for?
Now, Mark's a serious question, and I'm sure other people might be wondering
Yeah,
this too.
thank you so much for asking that.
What is the saying that Heather keeps repeating? What does it mean?
Yeah, those weird words are the access consciousness clearing statement, right and wrong, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And there's an amazing video at theclearingstatement.com. So you can discover more about that tool and start to play with it. And if you can't recall all the words, you can just say pot and pock all that.
Yeah, and that's like the short version. And it's really the energy of the statement that causes so much potential. And I'll put it up on a banner. This actually is a forwarded domain. So like if you go to this, it will forward you to a different, it will forward you to the Access website where the video is. I'm just putting it in here. The reason I say that, that's why I'm not posting it in the comments. Facebook frowns on forwarded domains. That's one of the reasons my ad account back in the day, that was one thing that they had issue with. So it's declaringstatement.com, but that will take you to Access Consciousness / other stuff that actually is where the video is. But that's easier to remember, declaringstatement.com. And it's a relatively quick video, and it will give you a whole nother appreciation for the words that Heather's saying, because it's kind of like, we call them the superheroes of consciousness, pot and pock. It's like these magic wands that really get to the things that are sticking you the most from not allowing possibility to show up in your world.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first time I ever was exposed to access consciousness. And I'm so grateful you asked that question, Mark, because there may be people who were like me. I saw a video like, I don't know, 10 years ago of a lady. She was running these pot and pock statements, and she didn't mention access. And I said to the person I was with, I'm like, I don't have a good answer for what this lady's saying, but it's changing stuff. And I'm getting like, I can tell energy's moving and things are getting lighter and it's changing. And so, I sought her out and eventually found these tools, found access, from that initial exposure. And because it is so dynamic, and the great thing is you don't have to understand it cognitively. You can even be asleep and the clearing statement will work on you.
Great. And I'm glad your chattering monkey has enjoyed all the wisdom. No, Mark, that's covered in Foundation too. There's a whole section on like entities and things like that. So that chattering monkey, sometimes there might be, you might be receiving some contribution you didn't ask for. And there's tools for that too.
Yes.
No, but for everybody watching, we're going to say final call for questions and things. We were planning to go just about an hour. So we still got 10 minutes left, but I'm just letting you know now. Now is the time to ask questions, make your comments. Mark, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much for your contributions thus far, and also for keeping it playful and lighthearted, because there's way more that gets released with laughter than with tears. So any day of the week, I will gladly take people who are offering like that sense of ease and playfulness to the streams. Let's see. Oh, that was the other leading into the question that I was going to get to. From our last stream, when we were talking, I think we were talking about, was it just about Foundation? But I think we were talking about body processes.
Oh, we went everywhere. We just really followed the energy.
Oh, and that's the other link I've been posting. She is not a Buckeye, Mark. She is in the DC area out by Maryland. So
I was born in Cleveland, though. So my body chose to be born in Cleveland.
I didn't know you were from Cleveland, or maybe I did and I forgot.
Speaking of bodies, yeah.
Awesome. But all the, Mark, I don't know if you caught our other streams, but this is our 5th stream, and it is the first of many. This is the rebirthing of the Power Possibilities podcast, really, when it's going to be Heather and I think I'm going to keep all that on separate stuff going forward. However, all the streams that we've done recently are all at emergenceofbeing.com/possibility. All the streams are embedded. They're relevant to some upcoming classes that Heather is going to be doing in Cleveland. So she has the How to Become Money workbook is going to be a virtual class, but we have the foundation, we have bars, all kinds of fun things coming up if you wanted to consider meeting her in person and telling her some jokes one-on-one.
I know, how much fun can we have? I've always had such a great time when I've come to Cleveland, the place of my birth. So what can we create?
But the question from that was brought up from the last stream, when I believe when we were talking about body processes and how there was like MTVSS and there is cellular memory, someone was posting specifically to, like, if you have like a blood pressure issue or call it any other issue, like what, from an access standpoint, what tools would you start to use to go after some things that are showing up in the physical body?
I would really always be in a question. And the number one tool that I recommend to people, whether, access is for you or not, is the tool of thank you body. And I may have even shared this on one of these streams before, but you actually can't have gratitude and judgment simultaneously. So even if you just take a few seconds every day to have gratitude for your body, it can create a totally different reality. So for all of you watching or listening now or in the future, you can put your hands on your face or some other body part that's maybe more fun for you.
I already know where Mark is.
I think Mark is rubbing off on me. And you can have that gratitude for your body. Thank you, body. Thank you. And you can close your eyes and just taking that moment of thank you, body. Thank you for being here for me. Thank you for everything that I get to be and do. Wow, because of you. And I mean, I was just in Florida last week and swimming in the ocean, feet in the sand, having amazing food. That's all stuff that you can't do as an entity floating around without a body. So thank you, body. I mean, wow. What can you create in a body that you can't without it? And what money and abundance could make that a whole lot more fun?
Yeah, but I knew Mark was going there. He says, I won't say it. We knew
We're
you were what you're thinking.
We're both psychics, so
I'm surprised he had a free hand to type there. No, but in any event, I know I went there because I know that's where he went. I have no shame with that, Mark.
That's part of the joy of embodiment as well. Yeah. Thank you, body, for
all the places where people do have a point of view of the joke we just kind of alluded to. Like really trying to create all of that, because how much shame is put on our bodies and the functions of the body and everything that the body can be and do to bring you joy and happiness and all that too. So that's something, that really ought to be talked about, though it might be uncomfortable for some people. Access does have space for that kind of conversation as well. There's awareness of everything that is, and the absence of a judgment about it is really kind of a synopsis of consciousness.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yes. The definition of consciousness and access is that it includes everything and judges nothing, including what's so much fun for you. How much have you judged out of your life and away from your body the things that you really, really enjoy? And at what age did you give all of that up?
And I think we'll have to have a whole specialty topic series. It'll be Hank and Heather After Hours, and then we will totally go there. We'll take the deep dives into all those conversations. But as a reminder, final call for questions, and check out the website. I put the link in the description for the upcoming classes. And just to touch back one more with when it comes to the physical things too, like being in the question and thanking the body. We had a guest on a different podcast. He was like a psychologist, and his topic was like, pain isn't the problem, it's like the messenger, and it's just communication from the body. And so I wanted to throw out the question too, is like, what has your body been pleading with you to tell you that you haven't acknowledged, that if you were to acknowledge could change everything? Because oftentimes it's not when something becomes physical, the body may have already been trying to communicate something to us, and we don't have, sometimes we just misfire because it's like a whole nother language. That's why they call Dr. Dain like the body whisperer. Like he just has this knack of being able to communicate with the body. And one thing from the bars class that I found was a huge contribution for me was the thymus exercise. It's like one of the energy flows that they say it's like the seat of the soul. It's like this place of the body and the being come together. And then also like with the Becamex, I think is the correct way to pronounce it, analogy, like the autopilot that we turn on throughout our day. Like what if we turn the autopilot off and we were fully present with our body and our being and really started to have like this experience of communion being the totality of self, instead of like the body and the being two separate things that don't always work together.
Yeah, I mean, because there's, with that communion that you were just talking about, what's possible that's greater than you could ever imagine. And Access Consciousness has so many amazing body processes and tools and questions for facilitating that communion. 'Cause, I mean, how many people do you guys know that are just really not very present with what it is that their bodies are asking for? That's the way a lot of people function here. So you can really be in that question, like the questions that Hank was asking, the questions, phone is telling me something interesting. What is your body desire?
That is such an amazing question, because when I started asking that, but before I say this, I want to preface it that I am open for my body choosing something different too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, when they hear the word vegan, they're like, oh, vegan. But I think I was treating my body so badly that when I finally started getting in touch with my body, and I was in line at Chipotle, and I'm like, body, what would you like? It's like, not that, not that, not that. And like overnight I went vegan. And I fully, if tomorrow desired a steak, I wouldn't say no to it either. But like my whole wardrobe changed. Like all this stuff started changing because I really started getting in touch with my body. And like the weirdest food cravings, Mark, I know you were joking about Taco Bell. Like sometimes I just have this crazy craving for pineapple and pistachios. It's like when you start listening to the body, you'd be surprised at what things might come up that would be a contribution for you and for your body and being to work together that you never would have considered before, just because now the lines of communication have been opened up and established.
Yeah, and I mean, what are you doing or giving your body that your body is not happy with? Yeah.
Well, and right after that too, for my wife's work, I had my biometrics, and the nurse practitioner said, she's like, these numbers, they're terrible. Like I just wasn't treating my body kindly at all. And for me, I needed like a good 3 to 4 year total detox, like just really treating the body kindly. And then who knows, maybe tomorrow I'll have a different thing. But the real key is to not be in definition and conclusion about I am this, I am an infinite being, and what will the adventures tomorrow be?
Yeah, exactly. And it's these places of definition that limit what we can be and choose.
Well, Heather, I think we had too much fun today. I don't know about you.
It was so much fun. I'm so grateful.
No, but everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. You can check out all of our content that we've done so far anyway at emergenceofbeing.com/possibility. As you scroll through there, you'll find all the streams that Heather and I have done. And like I said, kind of correlated to the classes that she has coming up, which is going to be how to become a new workbook, which starts in just 2 weeks, which is less than 2 weeks, which is a 10-day class. And I found out she's doing a Facebook group for it too. So it's not just,
it's already created. I've already started posting.
So it's not just a class, it's going to be 10 days, but it's also going to be group interaction and group support and group actualization and possibilities and all that. Mike is saying already yes. And Mark, can you be a guest on one of the shows? We'll see how you treat us as we move forward here. And then that's going to be followed in May by a bars class and a 4-day foundation, followed by another money workbook class and then an advanced class. So there's this whole lineup of possibilities with Heather, and I'm taking them all. Right? No, but what energy, space, consciousness, and choice could your body, being, and beyond be to choose what's going to create the greatest possibilities for you with total ease? And just see if that question might percolate some possibilities and ease of choice for that for you. Any final words, final question?
What if you always know what's true for you and what's going to work for you and be fun for you?
Awesome. That's a great question to end on. But thank you, everyone. We will catch you next time.
Thanks, you guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today for the show. The Sonic Shaman is part of the Emergence of Being Contributor Network. Visit emergenceofbeing.com to learn about all the contributors and learn about our services and upcoming events. Please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. You can contribute to the show by supporting our efforts and sharing our content with those you care about and those who need it most.